Hey everyone, and welcome back to OntarioCyrptids. Thursday night, I uploaded a short clip titled Crescent Moon. This was meant to be a short clip posted to my communities tab. Since I'm a little inexperienced with creating shorts, I was unable to add music and a thumbnail. Also, watching the video back didn't really do the waxing crescent moon any justice. It was actually very breathtakingly beautiful. I have always been drawn to the moon, and if my camera batteries are fresh, I try to capture its beauty. Here are some of your comments you made regarding this clip. Tom Michael writes, "One of the things I've never gotten tired of observing my entire life. It's something mystical." And Tom, I have to agree with you. The moon is very captivating and it is truly mystical. Then we have Rich. "Hello Vanka, I pointed the moon out to little Beanie and Zeb today in the middle of the afternoon. These two children remarkably have their own Sasquatch encounter stories I'm going to make part of my next email to you." I can't wait to hear those stories, Rich, so send it in. Then we have Jor Skinner. "I watch the moon all the time." Me too. I really enjoy watching it. Keith Blunt responded, "Wow." Diana Clark gave me a beautiful smiley face. And Chris Luman says, "I can't see the moon where I'm at." Well, one thing about the waxing moon is I don't think it's up in the sky all that long, if I recall. Thank you guys for sending in your comments, and I'm going to try and do a better job next time of uploading it and making sure it goes into the right area, because I think it ended up in my videos and not in my communities tab. All right, let's move on. Today we have a special story that was sent in to me by Chris Luman, who we just spoke about. If you guys recall, during the live stream, Chris hinted that he had a few weird stuff happen to him over the years. Well, here it is. But before we get to it, if you have an encounter story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCyrptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story with like-minded people. Okay, go grab yourself a beverage and get cozy in your favorite spot and sit back and relax. All right, so this occurred in 2006. I'm presuming in the summer or fall time. And we're going to Albany County, Wyoming. And the region is around the Medicine Bow National Forest. And I mean, just looking at this area is gorgeous. I can see there's just a ton of vegetation, creeks, and mountain peaks in this area. All right, let's get to the story. Hello, V. In 2006, I was working on a ranch in the Medicine Bow Mountain area of Wyoming, the most beautiful country that I've ever seen. I enjoyed my job. To me, it wasn't work, more like an adult camp that I got paid to do. The ranch was 250,000 acres, but we had 350,000 more acres that we leased from the Forest Service. The driveway that leads to the ranch was about 20 miles long, which was fine by me because I'm not a big fan of people. The area that bordered the Forest Service land was called Coca's Corner. It was named after a Basque sheep herder that carved coca in a large aspen tree. Coca's Corner had uber spooky feel to it. I didn't like working in that area because I would be consumed by an uncontrollable fear, the kind of fear that felt like death was close by. It was at Coca's Corner that I heard my only wood knock. I was taking down some snow fences so the elk and mule deer wouldn't get caught up in it during the winter. It was early morning on a Wednesday in October. I remembered it was a Wednesday because that was the only day my boss would check his mail in town. I parked a truck in a clearing, grabbed my fencing stretchers, and started my 2-mile hike to the start of the snow fence. With every step I took, the feeling of dread got stronger and stronger. My inner warning system was telling me to turn around and walk back to the truck. But I had a job to do, and once I was done letting the snow fence down, I would be done for the day. I made it to where the snow fence started, and I quickly took down 300-yard runs of the snow fence. I was about halfway back to the truck, trying hard to ignore the voices in my head telling me to run, when I paused for a minute to get a quick swallow of water and to look around to see what was causing me to have an unnerving feeling of anxiety. I couldn't see anything besides the downfalls and thick aspen forest, but now thinking back on it, I didn't hear any birds or the usual sounds of critters. It was silent. Just my heartbeat was all I heard. Then I heard a loud whack, whack. I don't mean the half-ass whacks those folks with the Bigfoot shows make. It sounded like a mad MLB player was taking his frustrations out on an aspen. The sound was less than 100 yards from where I was standing. My thought was that it was a moose I had seen on my way in and that it was rubbing on the aspen. I had not heard of woodknocks at this time. I triple-timed my work and almost ran to the next sets of snow fences. I was never so happy to see a Ford truck in all my born days. I still had another 2 miles of snow fences to let down. I got into the truck and drove a mile down the line and parked in the next clearing. I drank a little water and started back to letting the snow fences down, but this time I brought the rifle from the truck with me. The rifle gave me a sense of comfort, but I still felt uneasy. I let the remaining snow fences down, and as I turned to start back to the truck, I heard the whack, whack again, but this time it was closer and louder. I didn't turn and run. I just raised the rifle with one hand and looked, but I didn't see anything, and I didn't run back because I didn't want whatever made that sound to think that it defeated me. When I got back to the truck, I turned around hoping I would catch a glimpse of the moose that assaulted the aspen. But I saw nothing, just the deadfalls and thick aspens. I drove back to headquarters, but it wasn't until I could see the bunkhouse did my feeling of being dogged went away. I got into the bunkhouse, I found a bottle of Crown, and then I proceeded to calm my nerves. I told myself that it was just my nerves and that the time of the year was to blame. With it being October, there was always some monster flick on TV, and my overactive imagination was working on me. A week later, I was told that I had to return to Coca's Corner, but this time I would be on horseback. When I was told this, I asked our cook if I could borrow his .357 revolver, because I wasn't going back there unarmed. He let me borrow it, and I returned to that dreaded corner. This time, I skirted to the north instead of riding straight through it, but I still had the feeling of being dogged. My horse, Zeke, was also spooked, and he was bomb-proof. However, this time there was birds chirping and critters were scampering around, but I made sure that I kept the pistol easily accessible. If need be, I could get it quickly. I was riding into unknown territory. I had not yet been to that part of the forest. I rode into a clearing and took my lunch break, and I let Zeke graze and catch his breath. I sat down and leaned against an aspen. After about 10 minutes, Zeke perked his ears and whined towards the thick forest. I took this as it was time to get off the mountain, and I did so at a quick pace. The next morning, I asked my boss if anyone has ever seen anything back in Coca's Corner. He told me that the great Coca himself said that he had seen the devil back on that mountain and quit that day, and other ranch hands before me had refused to go there. My boss asked me just how far I had ridden the day before, and I told him that I had rested in a clearing on the mountain. He then told me that the clearing that I rested in was the site of a massacre, and the feeling that I had was only that of some natives wandering around. I asked my cook about the weird stuff that happened around Coco's Corner, and he repeated that a lot of the former hired hands wouldn't go there because the devil lived there. After that horseback trip, I never returned to Coco's Corner. I joined the ranks of the former employees that flat out refused to go back to the dreaded corner. I know that this story isn't super exciting, but as I attempted to type this out, chills and hair standing on end came back just like it did all those years ago. The other weird things that have happened to me was a few weeks later, I was looking for moose antler sheds. I was going through a game trail on foot when I heard a twig snap, and when I stopped, I could hear something walking in the brush trying to get behind me. I thought maybe it was my boss or coworker trying to pull one over me, but I was able to keep what was taking those steps at my side. I made my way back towards the bunkhouse when I ran into the creek that flowed behind the bunkhouse. I walked the creek back to the bunkhouse when I found my moose shed, and I then walked out of the creek and returned to the bunkhouse to see my boss and coworker sitting outside the barn. I could tell by my coworker's clean shirt that it wasn't him in the thicket, and my boss had a half-empty Jim Beam bottle in his hand, so I knew it wasn't him either. My cook had a hard time walking, so I knew it could not have been him. It wasn't until I was showering that it dawned on me that the sound in the thicket was accompanied by a foul smell, a musky urine armpit smell. And whatever made the footsteps was walking on 2 feet, and it was heavy. That night, I was sitting in a bar. I had won a bet with the bar owner so I could drink that night for free, but I didn't drink as much as I usually did. I was thinking about those footsteps when the bar owner asked me if I was sick. I said no and told him what had happened. A patron sitting at the bar who listened to my story told me that a few years before he was hunting in the area and something big pushed him out of the woods. He said that he heard a whack, whack on an aspen and smelled a foul, nasty scent, but he didn't see what made the smell or made the sound. I know that there's something out there. I'm just glad I didn't see what was in that thicket. This is just one odd thing that has happened to me in my 38 years of living. Chris, thank you so much for submitting your story, and I have to disagree with you when you said that this story isn't super exciting. I think every story is exciting, and all stories are relevant because you may then draw or make somebody remember something that happened to them and draw some parallels in your story as compared to theirs. And then that will make them wonder, what was that actually happened to me? But thank you so much for submitting your story. I truly, truly appreciate it. And I was so excited to get it and read it yesterday. Also, you did say that you had some other odd things that happened to you. So I would love to hear those as well, whenever you get the chance, that is. But thanks again. Next time, hopefully we may be listening to Rich's encounter stories. Well, not his, but his grandkids' encounter stories. And that leads me to this. If these stories reminded you of an encounter that you may have had and would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCyrptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story on this channel. Thank you all for listening until the end. I truly appreciate it. Please hit the like button on your way out and smash that subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Have yourselves a great weekend, and here in Ontario it is a long weekend because it is Labor Day weekend. I think also the Americans have Labor Day weekend, if I'm correct. So to all of you guys celebrating Labor Day weekend, have a fabulous one, and I hope to see you all next week right here on Ontario Cryptids.